Watching baseball in New York right now is like watching a couple of housewives. They're both rich, they both suck, and they both hate each other. It's like the Mets been peeping the Yankees, constantly being a joke, and we're like, screw you guys, we still exist too. Everyone, look at us, we can also be disappointing. Now, is the sky falling right now for this team? Yeah, no, it's not. But according to their fans, it is. Although they definitely do have valid things to be worried about. They also want their hitting coach's head on a pike, which we'll eventually get to. Really quick, if you're part of the 51% of viewers not subscribed yet, consider hitting that button to stay up to date, as pretty much every team in baseball this year has been up and down. Now, that's normal. That's usually how it is. But at the same time, I feel like there's at least a few teams that are basically from opening day to October as close to flawless as you can possibly get. I think the Brewers are really the only team kind of like that this year. They've been very dominant for a while, but the Mets, they've been a little weird. So far, they've had a great April, a pretty good May, a bad June, a pretty good July, and so far, a really bad August. We've seen a lot of the potential this team has throughout the year. Juan Soto, although not necessarily putting up an MVP type year, has been really good overall. It's always nice seeing hardworking journeymen like him succeed. Very inspiring. Pete Alonso, the freaking polar bear, he's been really good. The pitching has been so much better than I think anyone would have given him credit for before the year started. But with the Mets, it just feels like every time you think they're about to take off, just when you think they're going to really separate themselves from the Phillies in the division, they come right back down to earth. And I think the last 2 weeks sum things up pretty well. A couple weeks ago, they were at home on a 3-game losing streak after getting walked off on in Kansas City and losing the first 2 games against the Reds. So they're trying to avoid a sweep, which they do. And not only do they win this game, but also the next 6, sweeping the Angels before going over to the gay Holy Land to sweep a Giants team in free fall. Up next, a much better team in the Padres, but it didn't seem like that was slowing anything down, even with the umpire trying to take matters into his own hands. It's like he saw the Mets winning all these games. It's like 7 in a row. I've had enough. No, they're not winning with me back here. Mets are already up 1-0 at this point. It's the 3rd inning, so the ump's like, okay, yeah, what are you going to do with this? Curveball outside, called a strike. Next pitch, different pitch, same exact spot, same result. Couple pitches later, throws one in the dirt. Surprised he didn't ring him up here. All right, go back to what's been working. Change up, and it's not called a strike. Okay, maybe the umpire knew it'd be too suspicious, so he was like, all right, I'll give him a ball call for that spot, even though every pitch thrown in that spot should have been a ball, and so should this one have been, but it's called a strike anyway. So every strike called on Brandon Nimmo here was a flat-out ball. I'm surprised he didn't at least say something. I guess shout out Nimmo for keeping his emotions under control. Well, Lindor comes up, takes 2 strikes that are actually strikes, and then chooses to punish Cease on the mound. Ouch. I guess you can't throw baseballs at umpires, so the next best thing is to hit a ball that hits the pitcher who's been benefiting from the umpire's bad calls. I guess that works too. Thankfully, Cease was okay. Not that it didn't still hurt. I'm sure it hurt like a bitch, but the fact that it hit the ground first helped it not being as vicious as a line shot back to the head. Well, anyway, Lindor busts his ass over to second on this. For Juan Soto, perfect opportunity to cash another run home. First 2 pitches outside, obviously ball's not close enough for the call. Cease lays an actual strike in for strike 1, but then Cease gets another gift. That same spot he got those 2 calls on Nimmo gets called here on this curveball. And unlike Nimmo, who didn't say anything, Soto immediately is like, oh, I know you didn't just call that a strike. Little back and forth, he goes back up. 4 pitches later, this is very borderline, but it did catch the zone. Now, according to these calls, if the ball barely catches the zone, like even if 2% of the baseball is in the zone and the rest of it is outside, it's still a strike. Part of me feels like if the majority of the ball is out of the zone, it should be a ball. Like, I can understand Soto being upset about this, but it did barely catch the zone. It's a strike. They're going to give it to the pitcher. Just so Soto's heated, and the Mets manager is like, well, shit, I will do what I must, and sacrifices himself so Soto can stay in the game. Like, full on offs himself in front of everyone to distract the umpire. Pretty wild scene, dramatic stuff. No, he just makes sure he's the one to get ejected and not his star player. Skip ahead to the next inning. Padres just tied it. Jeff McNeil leads off the inning via a walk, which sounds crazy, I know. He was able to take 4 separate pitches in an at-bat that were called balls to work a walk with this umpire behind the plate. Inspirational stuff. Then Mark Vientos says, screw a walk. He swings at the first pitch, makes contact, but it's foul. Swings at the second pitch, doesn't make contact at all. 3rd time's a charm. He swings at the 3rd pitch and makes contact and hits it fair, and what looks like a home run to right field until Fernando Tatis Jr. says nah. Makes an awesome catch. He drops the ball here, but it was on the transfer, so he did fully grab it for the out. Wow. Well, skip ahead 1 inning later. Game is still tied at 1, and the Mets are rallying off Cease again. They have a couple guys on with 2 outs, and are Cease and the Padres really intentionally walking Jeff McNeil to face Vientos with the bases loaded?
That was the plan. Not a great plan.
Vientos comes back up, works a 3-2 count, and has an aha moment. He realizes he could do what he did last time. That's fine. He just has to hit the ball a little further so Tatis can't catch it. Like, oh, got it. That's genius. Grand slam and a right. Everything coming up Mets right now on their way to an 8th straight win. Wow. Well, that's when Frankie Montas said to hell with that. Second pitch Tatis sees in the bottom of the inning, gets hit for a double. Then the second pitch Luis Arraez sees, gets whacked off the foul pole and right. I mean, watching Luis Arraez hit a home run is like watching a stripper find Jesus. Take it in. Good chance you'll never see that again. Padres are cooking. They get a couple more guys on. And with 2 outs in the Mets bullpen in the game now, Jake Cronenworth hits a shot down the line that Pete Alonso makes a nice snap on, but the pitcher can't beat Cronenworth to the bag. He's safe. Another run scores. Then Bryce Johnson ties it up with a knock and a right. Elias Diaz is like, this is fun. Okay, my turn. I want to try. First pitch swinging, dumps it in the left. Padres answer that grand slam with 5 runs, 3 of them with 2 outs. This has turned into a great game. And during all this, the umpire notices all the attention was being taken away from him, and he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. All right, yeah, Soto's up again. Watch this, everyone. He calls a ball higher than Snoop Dogg in his prime for strike 3. Like, what are we doing? That ball's higher than my GPA. Okay, bad example. That's not saying a lot, but yeah. And I will give credit to this umpire. As bad as he was, he didn't eject Soto, which a lot of the umpires would have done. Like, Soto was able to say a lot and have some freeway without getting tossed, and I respect that from the umpire. If you're going to be a dick, at least let the player come at you too. 2 innings later, score still at 6-5. Ronnie Mauricio says not anymore. Taking Robert Suarez deep. It's like the Mets hitters decided to troll Tatis after he robbed Vientos that first time. Oh look, another baseball over your head. You're not going to catch. Tie game. Mets magic is still alive until the other Soto on the Mets blows it.
This is getting out of hand. Now there are 2 of them.
I mean, I respect the logic. Having 1 Soto on your team is really good. See what I did there? Now imagine 2 of them. Yeah, it didn't work out. Base hit, Xander Bogaerts. Next hitter, Iglesias, puts a bunt down. Soto has the out at second, but almost throws it into center field instead. Doesn't seem like a smart thing to do. Lindor saves his ass, but everyone's still safe in the process. First and second, nobody out. Next hitter, another bunt, and they get the lead runner out at third. And then the next hitter, Bryce Johnson, goes down looking. So it looked like a disaster could be avoided. Soto even gets ahead of Elias Diaz, 1-2. 1 strike away from getting out of this and sending the game to extras, but then he threw a sinker that really couldn't have been more over the heart of the plate. Not the most ideal thing to throw ahead, 1-2 in the count. And Diaz takes advantage, dumping another hit to left for another RBI, this time walking the game off. Rough loss for the Mets. Well, at least they didn't go through as much pain the next game. Instead of getting stabbed and slowly bleeding out, they got 1 pump to the head, losing 7-1. Their bullpen melted down again. After Sean Manaea threw 5 solid innings, Jose Butto gave up 5 solid runs, and the 1 run they got in this game, the Starling Marte sacrifice fly, that was the only run they got the next 2 games, losing 5-0 in Game 3 to get swept. Yeah, not great. Well, at least now they're headed home to face the very team they just swept before the Padres series. Maybe that will turn things around. It didn't turn things around. The Giants immediately dropped 2 runs and eventually the third to make it 3-0 late. And credit to the Mets, they rallied. Alonso goes deep in the 7th. Soto and Alonso again are the reason the game becomes tied in the 8th. Game goes to extras and it's a BDSM that puts San Fran back ahead. A big Dom Smith moment. Base hit. He drives in the go-ahead run, but that's still just 1 run. Mets get an automatic runner at second base too to work with. And they load the bases up for Ronnie Mauricio to swing through a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. Ball game. Well, Pete Alonso wasn't about to make this 5 straight losses on Saturday. 3-run shot, but another BDSM ties the game before Tate McRae's brother gives them the lead. Mets pitching is selling again, but thankfully the offense was not. They double up the Giants with 12 runs on the day, so no 5-game losing streak.
Wow. Let me finish.
Just 1 win sandwiched between 4-game losing streaks.
Aww.
The Giants were like, we can score 12 too. Rafael Devers hits a ball to another Burrow. Mets lose the series. The MVP of this series was the people working the Mets broadcast over at SNY. I mean, look at this transition. I saw this and I'm like, this is George Lucas, Sam Raimi type shit. The Mets may not have been cooking in this game, like on the field, but the SNY broadcast most definitely was. Look at this one. Juan Soto had some issue with his eyes, so the broadcast puts this blinking transition in. Cinema. Well, they still lost the series though. Not good. And neither is giving up 5 runs in 1 inning, just like they did in that first game in San Diego. Now they're doing it against Cleveland in game 1 of this latest series. Sean Manaea, he threw 5 solid innings last time out, and he does that again. So I guess the 6th inning is his kryptonite, but the Mets answer right back. Pete Alonso doing what he does best. 2 innings later, Pete driving in another run. Then Mark Vientos, sac fly, tie game. All right, they've come all the way back. This would be a big game to steal. Brett Beatty's like, no, it wouldn't. Cleveland gets 2 in the 10th. Mets get one back. Credit to Beatty. He makes up for the error, but they can't fully come through. With the tying run at first, Luis Torrens gives one a ride, but it's not enough. Nolan Jones chases it down in the corner. Ball game. Mets scored first in game 2. They scratched across a couple runs, only for Cleveland to scratch across 2 in the 4th. Before one of the Mets bullpen acquisitions, Tyler Rogers gets singled to death. Guardians take the lead, and that was it. And the Mets offense goes 9 up, 9 down after that. They also went 12 up, 12 down from the 6th inning on. Cleveland bullpen shuts them down. Ball game. Yeah, that's bad. And, well, it was also just a preview of even more dreadful offense in the series finale. Gavin Williams, who's in his first full season in the big leagues, takes the ball and takes a no-hitter into the 9th inning, just straight up wheeling and dealing. And with 1 out of the 9th, Juan Soto says respectfully, your no-hitter. He hits a bomb to center. Williams is like, meanwhile Soto's like, that's rough. But honestly, I'd rather lose a no-hitter on a straight-up home run than some infield hit or bloop shot. I feel like a home run, especially to a guy like Juan Soto, of all people, that's just easier to swallow, easier to accept. Although if Juan Soto wasn't already public enemy number 1 in Cleveland, he damn sure is now. They lose what would have been the first no-hitter in 43 years, but the most important thing happens for Cleveland anyway. After getting Pete Alonso to fly out and then walking Nemo, Hunter Gaddis comes in and gets Mark Vientos to send a ball straight up into the clouds and back down into a glove for out number 3. The Mets have gotten swept again. That's another 4-game losing streak, 8 losses in their last 9 games, and it's one of those ruts where they're just falling back on the momentum they previously had. Now, are they as doomed as any Jennifer Lopez marriage? No, and I'm still picking them to win the division over the Phillies. As shaky as the Mets are right now, I just don't think the Phillies are that much better. But the Mets still, of course, are a problem within themselves right now, and a lot of that blame is being thrown at their hitting coach, Eric Chavez. Why? Well, the Mets as a team are hitting .210 over the last couple of months. Even Francisco Lindor, it's crazy. He basically had the exact same month's worth of production in June and July, and it wasn't good production. Even had the longest hitless streak of his life, going over 31 before finally getting a hit. Credit to Lindor, he has started off August like a new person. He's been great so far in August. But Juan Soto's not been great lately. Neither has Jeff McNeil. Pete Alonso had an awful July, but like Lindor has made up for that so far by being scorching hot to start August. And I mean, through all these games I just went through, even through all the losses, Alonso was constantly driving in runs. I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm just going to assume Alonso's driven in like 75% of the team's runs over the last 2 weeks. Don't fact check me on that. Just roll with it. But yeah, it's been inconsistent and overall not great the last couple months. Is it really their hitting coach's fault? Could be. A lineup this talented on paper shouldn't have these numbers, but you can't fully pin that on him. And I could be wrong on my division take, and this last week and a half's worth of games has obviously given a lot of reason why that could be wrong. But as much of a disaster as it's been lately, I still have faith the Mets can finish at the top of their division, or at the very least finish the year as the best team in New York for the madness. If not, no worries. The content's still free, and Mets fans' pain is still real. As always, thank you for watching. Love you. Bye.